This is George Dionne with KNAC.com, and I'm here with Sean Killian of the band Vio-Lence. If I knew absolutely nothing about Vio-Lence, how would you describe the band's music to me?
I would tell you that Vio-Lence is a hardcore thrash, a true thrash band that doesn't compromise and doesn't really care if we hurt people's feelings or offend anyone.
You guys had disbanded for the most part from 1993 to about 2019. What brought the band back together?
Well, after my illness, when I was sick with cirrhosis, which was it was caused by a genetic defect in my body. All the people that came together for the golf tournament that Phil threw and for the Killian on Command show, the benefit show and everything, after my surgery, I was laying in the hospital thinking, how am I going to repay these people? And the only way I could think of was to get back on stage. So it took me about 6 months to recover from the surgery and go back to work. And then I was driving home from work one day and just sent a text to Phil saying, hey man, let's do a show. Because he was free at the time. You know, he wasn't with machine. Because at the time of my surgery, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'll figure it out. And then when he left Machine Head, that's when I was like, okay, well, let's do this, you know. And we did the two reunion shows in Oakland, and then just started getting people contacting us to play shows here, play shows there. So, we filled up our 2019 pretty good.
Phil Demmel is back in Vio-Lence. Perry Strickland's back, and you got two new members. You have Christian Old Wilbur from Fear Factory and Bobby Gustafson from Overkill. Are these old friends of yours or guys you kind of put the call out for?
Well, Bobby and Perry, they've got a long relationship as friends. And, Perry always wanted to jam with him. I think they tried to do something a while ago together. But so Bobby was like, we all knew him. And then Christian was, being in Fear Factory, they toured with Machine Head. So Phil got to know him really good. And he was always a Vio-Lence fan, even back when he lived in Belgium. And so it wasn't about, we decided on these guys. It wasn't so much about can they play their instruments, because that was pretty obvious. It was like, how do we all fit in a room together? And, because, in music, there's a lot of downtime. So it's like they fit really well. And it kind of really solidified our band in that, we're all working towards the same cause, and that's to play hardcore thrash metal and go out and have a good time, as opposed to having this big, sterile business that everything how you present yourself and how you look on stage and all that crap. To us, that doesn't matter. It's just, we're just out to have a good time and bring thrash metal, Vio-Lence thrash metal to the fans.
Sounds great. And the new EP is Let the World Burn. Would this EP have been possible if it weren't for the lockdowns?
The lockdowns helped. I'll tell you that, because we had a lot of shows on the schedule for 2020. And so a lot of our practice time was spent rehearsing for shows. And so when the shows got canceled, like we were able to play the 70 Tons of Metal Fest, cruise. And then we went and played with in Dallas with Power Trip and Carcass and Razor. And then our next show was going to be in March, and the week before we were going to leave, everything got shut down. So we did take that time, and all we were doing was focusing on the writing, And it was Phil and I and Perry doing all the writing. So all the music's by Phil and the lyrics by me, and Perry was in there for us to be able to drive him crazy, because once he got something figured out on the drums, then Phil and I would be like, oh, let's do this a little bit different. Or, I'd come back with lyrics and go, yeah, that one verse, I need to go another couple of bars. So it was kind of for sure that the lockdowns did help a lot.
Now, you describe your lyric writing as dark and horrible as you can get. Let's talk a little bit about the stories behind the singles you have out. Let's talk a little bit about Flesh from the Bone.
So Flesh from Bone, I was watching a lot of documentaries on Vlad the Impaler, and that era of, the Ottoman Empire, and, how he had to take his small army comparative to the Ottoman Empire and some of his other countries around him that he had to deal with, and use that fear of impalement and the brutality of what would happen if he was able to conquer your force. And so a lot of times the message wasn't so much for the generals leading the armies, it was more for the armies themselves, that to put doubt in their minds, and it worked. And just during that time too, running the Wallachia, he was very strict on criminal activity and people that didn't want to contribute to the society that was Wallachia. And so there's a lot of people go, oh, Vlad the Impaler, Dracula. Well, yeah, he was in the Order of the Dragon, and so his name was Dracul, or Dracula. His father was Dracul, and it wasn't so it's like people think, oh, Vlad, he was Dracula. It's like, well, no, he was like this guy that ran this country during the 14th century. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stories where one of his servants showed up to work disheveled looking, and Vlad didn't like it. And he was kind of like, well, why do you look like you do? You should come to the palace and present yourself better. So Vlad then put that on the gentleman's wife, and went to his home and impaled the wife in the front yard of their home, so that everyone else would know, this is important to Vlad.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, he did some other stuff too. He got a lot of what they were the people that didn't want to work or contribute, and he threw a big feast in a barn for them, invited them all. I guess you could refer to them as bums or whatever you want. Invited them all for this giant feast. Once they were all in, he locked the doors of the big wooden barn and set it on fire. And for Vlad, that eliminated his problem of having people in his society that didn't want to contribute.
We might be heading there right now in a couple of countries.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like, studying up on that era, his conflicts with the people around him in the Ottoman Empire, and how he dealt with his country, kind of inspired me to write Flesh from Bone.
How about the song Upon the Cross?
Upon the Cross is one of those societal manipulation songs where they take a guy like, let's say, George Floyd, for instance, and what happened to him was a shame, of course, but then the media and all these other factions want to put him upon their cross and go, look, everybody, we should rally behind this. And, and then society responds, and so it's like, it doesn't really matter what the situation. It could be the COVID, it could be the Ukraine, it could be whatever they want you to manipulate you with. They put it upon their cross and go, see, worship it. It's like, and so that's kind of what that's about, that song.
Let the World Burn came out on Metal Blade Records. I feel like you guys have been on Metal Blade Records forever, but it was actually it was Megaforce and CBS, right?
Yeah, Mechanics and Megaforce. So yeah, Mechanics was on Eternal Nightmare was on Mechanics MCA,
yeah,
and then Megaforce Atlantic was Oppressing the Masses.
So how did you get your deal with Metal Blade this time around?
Well, we'd been out playing shows, and we played the Psycho Fest in Las Vegas in 2019, and Brian showed up, and Phil got a chance to talk to him for a little bit. And, we had some other folks that wanted to work with us, but it was kind of like, well, they're here. And Brian's been part of thrash metal, especially the Bay Area thrash metal, since the beginning. And, as an independent label, he's been successful through the decades. And, it's like it just seemed like the perfect fit. And it's like, not like the band was asking for anything, extravagant. We just wanted enough money to record and then have a label behind us to help promote that recording. And that's what we got, and, the people at Metal Blade Records are just fantastic to work with, because they all, they don't work for some big company that they don't know. They all know each other. And so the effort is, the people that work there put out honest effort to help the bands that are on the label.
Are you guys going to be able to head out on tour soon?
Well, we're going out for a few shows in May. We're going to do the Oblivion Access Festival in Austin, Texas, I believe it's May 14th. And then we're going to, the next week, we head out to Chicago, hook up with Coroner. And I believe it's, is it Coroner and Exciter? I believe, I better not screw that up. But I think it is Exciter. And then we're going to do 5 shows with them. Chicago, Boston, New York, Philly, and then we wind up at the the Maryland Death Fest at the end of the trip, and that's May 21st through May 21st. It's that week right in there. We have one day off, and that's Monday, the 23rd, and then we play straight through. So we might get 2 shows in Chicago. It depends on the fans if they're going to pack the place. And so if that happens, that'd be great. We could do 2 shows in Chicago because we have the time slotted for it. And then, we have some other stuff in the works. We just confirmed that we're going to be playing in Oakland in June. Just waiting on the promoter to put his flyer together and get his tickets, his ticket link all ready. So when we, post it, that people know. And, we're going to Bloodstock, Alcatraz Fest. We have another festival in Czech Republic, Brutal Assault Fest. I don't know if they've announced yet, but and then we have a 13-show tour at the end of the year in Germany and Austria and a few other countries out there in Europe, with Whiplash and Artillery. And we got LA because we had to make up some shows. When I got COVID, we canceled like 6 shows. So we're going to do LA and San Diego and the Psycho Fest in August. And then we're trying to set up the Portland and Seattle shows too, around the same time.
I was reading just yesterday that Phil might be missing a couple of shows.
Yeah, he goes out. He's been asked by Lamb of God to be able to step in for him because a couple of the guys in the band are not down with doing the vax, and they don't, so if there's countries that are still closed by the time they go out, he'll go out. But we have a solid backup already, ready to go. And he's someone that a lot of people know. I just don't want to say who it is. And, you don't want to put it out there and then not have it happen. But it's no, if Phil's not there, the guy that'll be there is just as good as Phil is on the axe. He's a shredder. Yeah.
That'd be awesome to find out who that is.
And everyone knows him. So if I told you, you would know right away.
There's also reports that you guys have already started writing the next EP.
Yeah, we've got a song that I need to go down and do some demo work with Juan at Trident Studios. Phil's out right now with Overkill, and so I'd probably go to the Bay Area and spend a couple hours with Juan just doing some demo tracks, some vocals. But we have the music on Pro Tools. I just need the guitar riff, because Phil and he'll come in with the riffs, and then kind of together we'll structure the song how we want it to go. And so we have it structured pretty well. And I've got a couple things without music that I want to track as well, but I just need the guitars and a click track, and I'm good. I don't need everything else going on in my head. A lot of times when I recorded this demo or this EP, I had everything turned down except the click track. Yeah, because with this frantic music, it could get you a little lost if you're not focused on what you're doing the vocals.
What kind of dog you have?
That's Pepita. She is a Chug. Pepita.
Chug.
A Chug? She's a Chihuahua pug. Her mom's a Chihuahua. Her dad's a pug. Come here, puppy.
Oh, yeah. She must be mean to having that Chihuahua in her.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, she is as good as cute of a puppy as you can find. She's 8 months. Yeah, she's 8 months right now.
Oh, nice.
But she's bitching because she wants to go outside. But her and the dog in the back, they were in cahoots. They started digging a hole under the fence. So I got to get some rocks and stuff from back there. Yeah.
That sounds about right for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to 1990 briefly here. You released the song torture tactics, but the record label didn't like it, deleted it. It eventually came out later. I feel like today you'd have no problem releasing that song with its lyrical content, but you might have problems with a song that, wasn't part of the popular opinion. It could be the most tamest thing today versus this song, which is pretty violent. Today, I think you can get away with the violence. Today, you can't get away with your opinion if you don't agree with the masses.
Well, I don't really care much about the masses and their opinion. I have my own opinion about things. I'm not out expressing my political opinions on social media. It's really my business. And who wants to be bored with that crap? But who wants to hear from a musician or an actor or anyone out there who thinks that they can say what they want about, world politics or local politics or whatever, or they say stuff because it's what everyone thinks they should say, or we're not like that. And I'm definitely not like that. So, it's like torture tactics. When we presented it to the label, Megaforce was fine with it. It was Atlantic Records that one of the executives, about 30 days from release, got the lyrics and read them and said, this song cannot be on our record. At the same time, releasing Two Live Crew and Me So Horny and going, look at, we're against the PCR, or PRC or whatever the hell they were called. In the meantime, don't look back here. We have violence back here and we don't want you to read any of that crap. But it's like, as far as opinions, everyone's got them and they all stink.
we know the saying, definitely. And I've certainly noticed the trend that back in the day, my thrash metal told me not to trust the government, but today,
I don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand what's going on there. And punk rock too. I mean, there's a lot of punk. It's like, wait a minute. And there's some bands out there contradicting themselves. It's like, okay, yeah, everyone can get vaccinated. You can go out and have a good old time, but that's not what you were talking about 10 or 15 years ago. You were actually, saying the opposite about, pharmaceutical companies and all those things. And, we were supposed to go to Australia with Sacred Reich, and then the COVID hit, but they recently contacted us about rescheduling. I was like, I can't reschedule to go to Australia until that country's government stops doing what they're doing to their people, because I can't write a song called Oppressing the Masses and then go try to benefit from an area that's being oppressed by their government. It's like, and so when all that ends and you guys are back to being, governed properly by whoever you decide to put there, then we'll be back. But the way things are going there now, it's like, yeah, I don't want to be any part of that.
So do you work with any other bands besides Vio-Lence? It seems like everybody's working with other bands. Members of Vio-Lence are working with other bands. Do you work with other bands?
No, I've never. That's just been Vio-Lence for me. I was never in a band before Vio-Lence, and I left the band back in '93 after Nothing to Gain. It was just kind of like I was just discouraged with the whole industry, and the way it was going back then, and 7 record deals. It's like, how are you going to produce 7 records for this label, and and you produce a record for them, and then the next record they're trying to tell you how to write and control you, and it's just, I didn't see really any good coming from the industry at the time. So I just figured, well, I'll leave and go work and make some money, actually make money. And then then when Chuck Billy's The Thrash of the Titan, that benefit show came up, we were asked to do that. So we jumped on that. And, that was back in 2001. And we did some West Coast swings with Overkill and Excel and Rob Halford and Testament, Death Angel, and, a couple other things. And then Phil joined Machine Head. And, for me, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's what you do. You're a musician. I'm a general contractor who loves to play music.
I think a lot of people are in the same situation as you, so don't worry about that. It's good, honest work, and then you can go out and have fun.
Yeah, and that's what, for me, that's what it is. It gives me a chance to create, and write, and then it also gives me a chance to go out and have a good time. And it's bonus money because my kid plays ice hockey and my daughter dances, and they're both expensive.
Damn right it is.
So it's nice to go out and play a show, make a few bucks to help, so help pay for their extracurricular activities.
Excellent. That's all I got for you today, Sean. Awesome. The new EP is Let the World Burn. It's intense. It's a true violence album.
On Metal Blade Records.
Exactly.